Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining for our discussion for TRBOnet mobile solution from Neocom Software. We will wait for 2 minutes, just in case someone else will join us, but then immediately start the webinar. Okay, while waiting others to join, let me introduce myself. My name is Irina i.simkina. I'm the business development manager for North America, also for Latin America, but for North America as well. And we are working with Juan, we all know already. This time we would like to introduce our new release for mobile client, which is our push-to-talk over cellular solution. And also show you some new features and use cases, because this product is quite old already, we can say that, and it's already installed for many markets, and we want to share with you some use cases. Juan, please take it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Irina. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to participate in this webinar. We're very excited because TRBOnet Mobile is probably one of the most advanced and interesting features that we've added to the TRBOnet command and control application. So the way we're going to structure the presentation is as follows. Irina, if you can send to the next slide.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. Okay.
Perfect. So the agenda is going to be the following. We're going to cover a few basic topics, introductory topics. Then we'll dive right into the most important features that TRBOnet Mobile provides. Then we'll move towards the evolution, and we will cover in detail the latest additions to the latest version of TRBOnet Mobile. Then we'll go over some supported devices, use cases, and hopefully we'll have enough time for a Q&A session at the end. So perfect. So let's start with basic. What is basically TRBOnet Mobile? How will be the best way to define it? We can basically say that TRBOnet Mobile, what it does is that it transforms your smartphone, your iOS device or your Android device into a fully functional two-way radio on a motor turbo system that happens to be already monitored by TRBOnet software. So those are key important things. We're assuming that you already have a motor turbo network in place, and that probably that motor turbo network is being managed by TRBOnet software. Next slide, please, Irina. So basically, we're extending the TRBOnet, the motor turbo environment, into smartphones and tablets, and we're going to be enabling voice, data, messaging, job ticketing, job location, user location, tracking, and route management, and many more functionalities into the broadband arena. Okay, so basically, it will allow you to bridge the gap between broadband and your two-way radio system. Of course, if you have, for example, a PBX connectivity on your TRBOnet, then obviously PBX calls or SIP calls will also be possible from the TRBOnet Mobile. Next slide, Irina, please. There are basically two ways of deploying TRBOnet Mobile and TRBOnet Mobile Client. One, which is probably the least common, is when you do it as a standalone solution. In that case, there is no motor turbo system. There are no two-way radios. And of course, then all the communications will be among the different TurboNet mobile clients, and maybe if you have a couple of operators, well, then those dispatchers as well. But the communication will be over wide area broadband channels and not over DMR channels. But then the second most, and probably the most relevant mode or architecture, is when we have TurboNet as an additional module or feature that is added to your already existing TurboNet system, that it's connected to your um, Motorola Motor Turbo system. And we, of course, as with TurboNet in general, we can be connected to any type of Motor Turbo system. Could be conventional, standalone repeater, or an IP site connect, and we can go all the way up to capacity max. Um, in some cases, we might have to use a mobile to do the interpretability for the voice, and then IP for data. Next slide, Irina, please. So those are the basic two architectures of TurboNet Mobile. Now we're going to go into the specific and most important features. Next slide, please. Okay, so basically, every different type of call that it's supported on your radio system, those types carry over as as how this, I mean, as everybody would hope, into TurboNet Mobile. But on top of that, we can do a few more other types of calls. So we support push to talk calls, either private or group calls. We support full duplex calls to other TurboNet Mobile users, dispatchers, SIP phones. We do video calls. That was one of the latest additions to TurboNet Mobile. And we also have a very nice feature called Request to Talk, so that instead of interrupting, you basically notify the other partner that you want to talk. Then we have a complete set of safety features that are basically carried over from Motor Turbo and from TurboNet. Man down, shake to alert, no movement, lone worker, emergency alerts. Those features are also available. Then we have a very sophisticated chat that allows us to do um, um, quick video calls and text messaging and voice messaging, kind of like like a WhatsApp application, but more for the enterprise environment. And then finally, we have most of the modules that you already know in TurboNet, like location, indoor and outdoor, tracking, job ticketing, alarm management. All those functionalities carry over as well. So now let's take a look in more detail to the half duplex calls. These are the typical types of calls on two-way radio systems. As you can see on the drawing, we can adjust the settings on the PTT. We can move from hold to talk approach, or we can move to a toggle approach, in which you can simply tap the PTT once and becomes active, and then you tap again and you release it. But basically, these are calls in which only one party speaks at a time, and you control the flow of the conversation with the push to talk button. So making a private call, for example, is very easy. On your application, you will have a contacts list bar, and you can go to the radios contacts list, and then you will have all the radios and other mobile users displayed there. You can just select a particular radio and initiate a half duplex call to that particular person. If you go to the contacts bar and you select a group, then you can initiate a push to talk call to that group as well. Of course, we can do emergency calls. We'll show you that in a minute. And we can do remote monitoring as well as how we do it with radio. Uh, Next slide, please. We also have full duplex calls available. These ones are just like regular telephone calls and allow every party to speak and listen at the same time. Obviously, you're not going to start a full duplex call to a radio, but the way to start a full duplex call is very similar. You will select out of a few different contact lists what's the party that you want to communicate with, and then you just tap and initiate a full duplex call. Full duplex calls will also allow you to use DTMF tones while in the call, in case you need to send out an automatic message to an external service. So DTMF tones are also available on full duplex calls. Next slide, Irina, please. SIP calls are also supported. The way to initiate a SIP call is not exactly the same as the way you would initiate a full duplex call. If you see here on the drawing, at the bottom of the screen, we have a very nice navigation bar, and you could select the dialer from that bar and initiate a SIP call in that way. SIP calls, like all the other calls, are recorded, and you can call if you have, for example, the module telephone interconnect on your TRBOnet system, meaning that you have connectivity to an IPPBX and maybe to the PSTN, you can extend the reach of SIP calls to any telephone user. Next slide, Irina, please. We also have call history and recording. This is a very useful feature in TRBOnet Mobile. You can access all the recent calls instantly, and you'll see on the display which ones were group calls or private calls or dispatchers or alarms, and you can easily check whether you missed them or not. You can also play back the recordings and initiate a call back from that screen. You will see here that that's the list of the recent calls, and also that can be accessed very easily from the lower navigation bar. Next slide. Thank you. Request to talk, I think that was added recently. That's a very, very nice feature. It allows users to communicate that you want to initiate a call, but without interrupting an ongoing communication. So instead of forcing a call to a particular user, you're politely requesting to talk, and then the recipient can either accept it or can decline it, or if it's a BC command and control center, it could be placed on a queue, and you will immediately be notified that you have been placed on a queue. You know which dispatcher, for example, has you on a queue, and you will also be able to see what number in the queue you have. So overall, the request to talk feature will improve communication discipline. It will reduce unnecessary interruptions and will allow the entire fleet to communicate and operate in a more organized and professional way. So RTT is also very, very important. Here is more an image that shows you how easy and how intuitive TRBOnet Mobile is. For example, in the image here, you will see that there's a bar at the top that says radios, talk groups, and dispatchers. Those are your lists of contacts, very nicely organized between subscribers, talk groups, and dispatchers. Always remember, TRBOnet is primarily a command and control application for Motorola Motor Turbo systems. So, of course, coming from radio, we give paramount importance to talk groups and to dispatchers. But let's say, for example, you select radios, you will see there all the context. You will be able to know who has a radio and who has a smartphone because you can play and select the type of icons that you want. Then by colors, you will know who has GPS, who is indoor, who has no way to be located, who's online, who's not online. It tells you a lot of things. And by just tapping on one of those contacts, you'll get that little bar that you see there, that type of sub menu that allows you to initiate a half duplex call or a full duplex call or send out a text. Now you can also initiate a video call or send a request to talk or initiate a chat as well. So that's how easy the interface and how intuitive it is. Next slide, Irina, please. Now let's take a look at the emergency part of things and the personal safety. As you know, two-way radios, and particular DMR two-way radios, are heavily used in risky environments like oil and gas, mining, and other operations. Some other countries use it also for public safety. So those are critical, highly risk environments. And Motorola and Motor Turbo throughout the years have been developing a very nice package of safety features that are also managed and are available in TRBOnet. All those features will carry over to TRBOnet Mobile. So emergency button, you can see it is at the middle, at the center of your navigation bar, and that appears in every screen. Then you have the possibility of doing man down, shake your device to alert, or no movement detection, and lone worker. Those are also available, and those could be integrated with alarm management to send out actions. Right at the top of the main page, you have your menu switch. And when you tap on that, you will get your own configuration page, and you will be able right there to activate all these safety features. So you can activate man down, lone worker, and shake to alarm. Next slide, Irina, please. Okay, location and indoor. That's another module that is very popular within TRBOnet and within Motor Turbo radios. And this carries over as well to TRBOnet Mobile. TRBOnet Mobile has a very powerful mapping capability that allows you to have visibility of all the contacts and users that you have on your subscriber contact page. So you will be able to see them all on the map, and you will clearly, by configuring the different icons, again, will know who has a phone and who has a radio, who's online, who has GPS, etc. So it's very, very intuitive. Of course, we can take use of the GPS and the satellites for outdoor location. We can also use NFC tags and beacons for indoor. Next slide, Irina, please. Route management goes hand in hand with location and tracking. It's a very popular module in TRBOnet and also available in TRBOnet Mobile. You can combine routes for outdoor and indoor, combining GPS, beacons, and NFC tags. You can define routes in a very strict way or with more flexibility. And you can report if the route has not been followed in the proper way or within the appropriate time or in the proper order. Then you can You can make those infractions become trigger points and alarms. Next, Irina, please. Job ticket is another function that carries over from TRBOnet. As you know, we have job ticket as one of the modules, as one of the functional modules. We also have developed, particularly for the hospitality industry, interfaces to other job ticket applications like, for example, hot sauce. So we have that in place in TRBOnet, and again, another feature that carries over to TRBOnet Mobile. So you will be able to check very easily on your phone. You can go to the current jobs page and see any current jobs that might have been assigned to you, and you will be very easily able to accept or to reject, and then to report on the status of the job. Everything gets recorded, and again, it can be integrated with the alarm module. Multimedia messaging, that is a fantastic feature on TRBOnet Mobile. It's basically like WhatsApp, but for business. It has the benefit that it's on premise. All the communications are on your server, behind your firewalls, completely protected. And of course, you can do text, you can do audio, you can do short videos, you can send out attachments, and you can get statuses. It's a very intuitive, very nice chat application. Next one, Irina, please. Quick messages. That's another very interesting feature. If you're receiving a call from another party, you can either decide to dismiss the call, not accept the call, or accept and open the call, or you can tap and send out a quick message saying that you're going to call back later, or that you're not available at the moment. So it's just another nice way to informing the other party when you reject the call that you will get back to them as soon as possible, for example. Then we have quick video that's on the chat. Every time you select a user, you will see on the sub menu the possibility of sending out a quick video. The videos, of course, are going to be optimized for size and quality. And as I said, those videos are received within the chat environment. Next slide, please. And this is one of the new features that was recently introduced. It's basically video calls. And again, here you can also adjust and change the quality of the video. Another important feature here is that dispatchers will have the possibility, of course, it could be disabled, but also in the same way that we do remote listening, we can also do remote video and probably open the camera on the device. I think those are basically the most important features that we have in TRBOnet Mobile. There are others that Irina is going to cover, probably more related into security and safety. But let me finish by saying that the alarm management is another module that also comes from TRBOnet, and it's available on TRBOnet Mobile. It allows you to configure responses based on triggers that might come from the Motor Turbo system, from the TRBOnet mobile app, or from third-party systems that might be integrated into the whole ecosystem. Here, for example, in the image, you can see that we can tap on the dialer and, for example, in this case, send out a DTMF message on the call. Okay. Next slide, please. Oh, this is a very interesting one. We can turn into the light or the dark mode depending on the settings. And I believe the next one also shows that you could do it. You can next slide, Irina, please. You can probably work on a orientation, either vertical or horizontal. And the final, probably and very important point is the do not disturb mode. You see, you tap on the menu, you get that section where you can select all the safety features, but one of the other things that you can select is the do not disturb mode. So if you're not available, you tap on that, and then you will still be notified, of course, but you will not be disturbed by incoming calls.
Okay, thank you so much, Juan. Just before going to the new release, I want to go back 2 slides just to add a little bit. Sorry. On this slide, we also mentioned that we can not only send the DTMF comments during the call, but you probably remember that inside the TRBOnet administration, we can create different type of rules. If we receive different comments or activity from the radio, we can make a reaction. For example, radio in the field detects something, it presses the side button and sends the event, let's say. And on that event, we can create the rule, for example, open the gate or switch on the light or show a message for the dispatcher or do something else. So we can repeat the same for the mobile client. It's possible in the mobile client to send the DTMF command or like a sequence. And inside the alarm management in the TRBOnet administration, on that sequence, we can also create the rules. So if we receive sequence 1, 2, 3 from the mobile client, we can open the gate, we can send the message, we can make the voice announcement, etc. So it's some type of side buttons which we use inside the radio. This is the same type of commands. We can send the DTMF command to initiate some type of activity inside the TRBOnet. Now let's go further and let's talk about the new release. First, a very important thing we need to note that we have release of TRBOnet Mobile and release of TRBOnet Enterprise and Plus separately. But it's only because of different platform. Then they release the TRBOnet Mobile, it's Android or iOS. We need to go through the process on the Google and App Store program. But then we release TRBOnet Enterprise and Plus, we need to release it using our own program. So for that reason, sometimes date of the release of the TRBOnet Enterprise Plus and TRBOnet Mobile, the date is different, but it's important to know that the new features, of course, will work only if you have the latest release of the TRBOnet Enterprise and latest release of the mobile application. New mobile application usually is released earlier, before the new release of Enterprise. It, of course, works with the previous versions of the server. But, of course, the new features will not be supported. As soon as you have latest version of both products, you will have all the new features available. The latest release 3.4 of the TRBOnet Mobile requires the latest release of TRBOnet Enterprise or Plus 6.4, which was released just recently in August. And in the new version of the mobile client, we introduced several features. We introduced the priorities, this encryption, enhanced security for the connectivity, remote video monitoring. So we will go through that features right now. First of all, about the configuration. We already had it in the previous releases, but we of course continue improving that to make the life of the administrator easier. It's important to know that you don't need to configure every device separately for the different access rights or for the visibility area. For example, if you want this device to talk to the specific groups or to have specific type of personal safety, you don't need to configure this device every time by connecting to the computer. Of course, it's needed the first time, but later all the configuration is done in the administration of the TRBOnet server. So the owner of the system, he can decide what kind of profiles we will have for the mobile client. You can have multiple profiles. For example, we can profiles for the drivers, for the security people, for the supervisors, and depending on that, you can assign different models, different talk groups, different type of activity, and different type of visibility. So, for example, if we have drivers, of course, their profile will be more focused on the location tracking. So we will have more GPS updates. We will have control of the speed and other things. If we have profile of the personal safety, we will have the personal safety features like man down, no movement, etc. Also for the private security, we have big customers who request it, and that's why we have it now, the video monitoring in case of emergency. So configuring different profiles, the administrator can assign different type of work, and inside that profile, the device will operate. So for example, if we have safety features allowed for the user in the field to use man down, lone worker, safety, shake detect, he can enable or disable it if the administrator allows to make it manually. But if he is not allowed to use shake, he will not even see it in the device. First feature we added in the new release, it's a call priorities. In the past, everybody in the mobile client environment, everybody could interrupt everybody. So we did not have any priorities. We did not have any supervisors. And of course, we had a lot of requests to change it, because in the trunking systems, in the high tier systems, we of course have different type of priorities. For example, we have supervisors which nobody can interrupt, or we have dispatch center, command and control center, who can interrupt everybody. And now in the new release of the TRBOnet mobile and TRBOnet server, we have this option. So now we can configure inside the profiles, we can configure group of users which can be interrupted at any moment, or group of users which can never be interrupted, or dispatchers which can interrupt some group of users and cannot interrupt another group of users. So we have several levels of priorities, and you can manually configure. As soon as this configuration is done on the server, it will be immediately applied to all the profiles and all the users in the field. You don't need to take devices in the office. As soon as you click the apply on the server and you do it once for everybody, immediately this will be applied for everybody on the in the system. Second, what we have added, as Juan already mentioned, we now have the voice recording on the device side. So for example, if you missed the call or want to play back something which was recently, it's possible to play back. But we always remember, then talking about the push-to-talk over cellular, we not always have the devices with the display. Sometimes we also have the devices without the display, but we also want to have some type of playback. For that reason, we can assign the side button on the device to play back the recent recording. So even if your device does not have the display, you can press the button and play back the recent call. Press another one and play back a next recent call. And in the configuration, and this configuration is also done on the device, you can check how many recent calls or recent recordings you want to play back using that button. This is very important because most of the private safety or energy companies, they prefer to use devices without the display. They are more look like radio, but of course, without display, some functionality is lost. But we try to keep as much as possible for the devices without the display. One more interesting and very expected functionality for the new release, it's an encryption. Encryption of the conversation, encryption of the data flow. We use the IS 128, and we encrypt data, we encrypt voice. For example, if we have encryption connection, the device will automatically understand that the connection is encrypted and will switch on the encrypted mode. Another thing, it's encryption of the configuration. You know that it's possible to sniff a network and try to extract the name of the server or IP address of the server, port, maybe some login information. Of course, password is never goes that way, but sometimes even understanding the name or IP address of the server, it's enough to try to make some attack, let's say. So we now have the encryption of the connections as well. So it's not possible just to sniff the traffic and understand the connection details. Everything is for safety here. In the slide about the video, we had the small word beta. This is because we understand that there are different devices on the market, and some of the devices, they cannot provide the good quality of the video. So we are trying to improve quality of the video every time. For the devices which have the good quality, we have the option to use the high quality, but for some devices, they cannot produce that. So we try to make some, for the low-end phones, we can provide some type of high quality video calls. So even if the device is not very expensive, not very good in terms of processor and video quality, we still will see good picture. So it's possible to have the video communication between the dispatcher and person in the field, or between two different people, and have quality good enough to see each other and to recognize projects around. By request of our personal private security company, they requested the remote video monitoring. What happened in their field that sometimes they receive the emergency, very unstable environment, very secure environment. They receive the emergency from the people and they don't reply anymore. So they try to contact them and they don't answer. So they need to understand what's happening around. You remember that in the multi-turbo radio, we have the remote monitoring. Then we can open the mic of the radio and listen what's happening around. Because we have the smartphone, we have two different cameras, front cameras, back cameras. In that case, we can open remotely the camera and see what's happening around. Also, dispatcher can switch the camera front or back, so we can see, change the camera to understand what's happening at this side of the camera and another side of the camera. It's only available for Android. iOS, it's very protected system. They don't allow this type of operation. So it's only for the Android. And it's very important to understand that it's also protected in terms of safety. By default, this feature is not available. So you need to allow it for the profile. So in the profile for this device, it should be allowed. Also inside the device, you need to allow it as well. So you need to provide the access to the camera, to both cameras for the application. And then it will be only available for the dispatchers which have this option. So there are several levels of access which should be provided by the administrator of the system. By default, it's not allowed, and everybody will be informed that, okay, it's allowed, and then you install to the devices. So you need also to allow this background operation with the camera. Of course, we all understand that then we talk about TRBOnet Mobile. It's a device for the commercial use or private safety or public safety. So it's a device which is not for personal use. It's working only during the working hours and only in the environment of the company. Of course, nobody is going to spy, but sometimes in emergency situation, it's important to understand what's happening, maybe to contact proper people, to emergency service or fire or someone, because we can see what's happening and we can react faster and maybe save lives. Talking about the lone worker. Lone worker, it's quite old feature for the mobile client as well. It's very well known from the radio world. It's also known for the push-to-talk over cellular. What is different in the version 3.4? That in the past, we had in the mobile client the option to activate lone worker from the field. So for example, I know that I'm going into the unprotected area and I want the dispatcher to somehow monitor my activity just to be sure that everything is good. So I activate lone worker by myself on the device. Now it's possible to activate lone worker from the server side. So it will force the device to be in the lone worker mode. And if a person does not respond in a specific time, it will generate the automatic alarm and the dispatcher can try to talk to the person, can try to remote mic, can try to remote video to understand what's happening. Now let's talk a little bit about the supported devices for the mobile client. Then we talk about devices. Of course, we talk about Android or iOS, and basically Android because Android provides a huge variety of different devices. We usually divide them in 3 different groups. First group, it's a device similar to smartphone. So it's a really smartphone, it has a touch screen, no hardware buttons, so just a regular Samsung or something like that. Second type, it's a hybrid. It has the touch screen, usually limited in size, but besides that, it also has the hardware buttons. Usually it's a push-to-talk, channel switch, emergency, and sometimes just side buttons which you can configure. And then we talk about the terminals, very similar to non-display radios. They don't have any touchscreen, they don't have display. Maybe sometimes they have a very small monochrome display which only can show the channels, but nothing else. But it has all the hardware buttons. Then we talk about support of the devices. Usually we talk about the support of the hardware buttons, because if we talk about smartphones, you just load the application into the smartphone and use the touch screen to press PTT and do contact switch, anything you need. But then we talk about supported devices. We need to integrate somehow the hardware buttons. And there are 2 different options how to do that. One option is to integrate it inside our application. So what we do, if we have the request from the customer that they are going to use or they already have specific devices which have hardware buttons and they would like to use it, we contact the vendor of that hardware and we ask them for the specific intents. It's a special code which we integrate into our software. And then our customer provided to us, because usually the vendor provides to the customer all the required information. And then next release or next fix pack of the mobile client, this device is possible to use with the hardware buttons. What kind of hardware buttons we support? Of course, it's PTT, it's channel switch, it's emergency, and you can also assign side buttons for the specific features. So we have already the list of the supported devices which our customers already used, and they already requested us to support. So we have intents, we added them into the software, and you can use that devices to have the PTT and emergency. Then we talk Motorola, we are talking about Evoke. No, we don't support iOS hardware buttons. But for other devices, we support push-to-talk and channel switch. Also, we have what I also mentioned, the radios with a small monochrome display. In that case, we need to receive from the vendor of the device API for the display. Usually it's easy because they're also interested in support of many applications. So we receive the API of the small display. Of course, it's different from the touch screen display. And mostly it shows the channel, and sometimes it also shows some battery information or something else, depending on the size of the screen. But if we cannot, for some reasons, if we cannot support hardware buttons, it's also possible to assign buttons inside the device. So we open the device, we have a special configuration screen where you can assign buttons. You open the screen, press the button, TRBOnet understands which button is pressed, and you assign it. Okay, this button will be push to talk. This button will be emergency. This button will be channel up, channel down. It happens with some devices which don't have the intents, or we cannot get them, or smartphones which don't provide the intents. It's not Android like terminal. It's mostly the smartphone, so they can be used by other applications. For that reason, you can assign buttons directly inside the application. But important difference. Then we have the support of the device with the hardware button. You can just at any moment press PTT and start talking. If we are talking about assigned buttons, it only works then your screen is unlocked. So you need to unlock your device if it has a lock unlock feature, and then you press PTT or emergency and it will work. One more addition, also by request of our customer, then you can use the wired headset and use the button in the middle button as a push to talk, or channels like a volume buttons, like a channel switch. You also assign it in the configuration, and then you can use it like a remote headset or push to talk headset. Very nice, very easy to use, and some customers like that. One more addition, it's not only for the last version, we already work with that for a long time. We support different Bluetooth speakers, microphones, and accessories. So it's possible to connect to the TRBOnet application, the Bluetooth device, and use it as a remote microphone or remote even push to talk. Depending on the vendor, we already have some of them supported. So they are supported in terms of push to talk and emergency, like Ina, Enrico. Or you can just connect them and use as a speaker or microphone without any buttons, but just to use them as a remote accessory. One more point. iOS platform, it's quite limited. Not limited, let's say it's safe. And they don't allow a lot of features which are allowed in the Android platform. For that reason, we have a different application difference between the Android and iOS application. Mostly, the main limitation probably is for the iOS, that then you receive the call in the background. In the Android, you immediately receive it and you can hear and you can start answering. But in the iOS, it does not allow to immediately pass the voice. So in the iOS application, if someone is making the call, no matter if it's private call or group call, in that case, you will only receive the notification, and then you need to unlock your iOS, and after that, you will start receiving call. So it cannot receive the call, the real voice in the background. This is the limitation of the platform, security limitation. But for example, of course, it's mostly about the push-to-talk calls. But if we are talking about full duplex call, because it's like a phone call, it's allowed on the both operation system. And also we have the very nice tutorials, short videos, which are explaining all the screens of the mobile client, all the features, configuration, how it works for voice recording, for location, for video calls. We have them in a very nice videos. You can scan the QR code here and you will see short videos. There are 12, I think, or 13 of them. And you can see exactly each functionality, how it works. And you can also share with your customers to show how it works. It has real screens, so you can see how it will be seen by the person with the device. Of course, all of them, they are about the devices with the display, because without display, it's mostly poor voice and location tracking, which you know from the radio world. Some words about the use cases. We have our product for a long time, many years, and you see that most of the functionality we add in new releases, they are requested by our customers. We already have several huge customers, each of them using like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 units. So it's quite stable systems already tested on a big and very important operations. So we divided them in different verticals. Of course, it's not all the verticals we support, but we divided our biggest customers who use more than 3,000 units into different verticals just to explain what kind of features are used by that customers and why they moved to the TRBOnet mobile. First, the biggest company we have, it's an energy company, and their operations are related mostly to the sending to between the people in the field and the dispatcher. They send to each other different manuals, images, and explanation of the issue. So for example, person is going on site, he sees some issues, he can make the short video, photo, and request dispatcher for help. Dispatcher sends him back manuals in a document format or videos, or explain in video how to change it, so they can communicate in video, they can communicate with the multimedia files. So in the past, they used a lot WhatsApp, but of course, WhatsApp, it's not the commercial and it's not the safe way of the communication, because everything is stored somewhere in the cloud, which the customer does not own. A very important thing and very important difference with the TRBOnet mobile, that everything is stored in the server, all the communications. Nobody else has the access to the stored information except the customer. So it's very important to have the secure communication, because some information is very sensitive and they exchange it a lot. Second thing is that they need to have this recording for the further investigation. If something was done not properly or some issues in the future, they will need to have some investigation or incident room to understand what happened and why. For that, all the communications with the multimedia files as well, they should be recorded. And TRBOnet is the best recording option in this case, because you have in one place recording of voice, recording of data, location, all the files sent. So all type of communications, they are in one place and they are stored forever. The only question is size of the storage of hard drive, where you have your video and audio calls and data. Second big company, it's a mining. We also added oil and gas because the type of operation is the same. We understand that we have in the mining, for example, underground and outside communications. Underground, they use radios. Outside, sometimes we have private LTE network, which covers outside operations, or they just can use cellular providers. Because not every customer can extend their operations if the main focus is underground, and sometimes they are going outside for many miles. They cannot install repeaters everywhere outside, and they sometimes cannot expect which zone they will need to cover. In this case, TRBOnet Mobile and push-to-talk over cellular works as a complement to the radio communications, and this complement can work on the Wi-Fi operation, on the private LTE, on the public cellular provider. So it's a complete integration between all these type of communications. And for the dispatcher, it's absolutely transparent. He doesn't even understand if it's a radio or if it's a push-to-talk over cellular device. They can talk to each other through the control station integration. So it's very important that through the single console and single point of control, which is our TRBOnet server, you can have communications between different type of systems, radio system and LTE system and cellular provider. And of course, with the Wi-Fi, we don't count the bandwidth like we do that with the radio communications. So we can send more often GPS updates. We can send with the mobile client multimedia video. So we are not limited with the bandwidth of the LTE or the Wi-Fi. With the transportation, we have a very nice hosting provider, our partner. They started selling push-to-talk, but then they decided to host it. So it's their own system. They host it for their customers because they're in charge of many transportation customers. Customers are not very big, but there are a lot of them. So they have around 2,000 units in total right now, but they are growing. The point about transportation is, of course, the coverage, yes, and we have a huge territory which we need to cover with communications, but we cannot install radio network everywhere. And of course, the capacity of the radio network is limited. If you want to have often GPS updates, sometimes it requires more resources. In that case, mobile client and push-to-talk over cellular solution is very good for the transportation and small companies which can just rent from hosting provider or maybe just own the small system for their own operations. They will have very fast GPS updates as every second. They will have very detailed routes. They will have very detailed calculation of the driven miles and speeding and everything. So it's very nice solution in terms of coverage and value for money in terms of coverage. And finally, the private security. We have a very nice customer with the private security. Also, partly it's hosted because private security companies sometimes very small. They cannot invest into the big infrastructure, so they prefer to rent. But they have, because TRBOnet provides the multi-instance installation, so it's very isolated slot for each customer. They don't see data of each other, but they share the same services, they share the same support and models features. In that case, they prefer to use private safety features like lone worker, no movement, man down. No, man down, of course, for mobile client, it's not exactly man down. It's like orientation, different orientation. Yes, if you expect phone to work vertical, any difference will be a change in the orientation. And of course, route management, then they need to serve specific places like business centers or shopping malls, and they need to every night to visit all the doors to check everything is good. So it's very good to have the route management for that. No, personal safety, of course, the main focus for the private security. So the main difference for the TRBOnet mobile push-to-talk over cellular solution, first of all, it's on premises. Everything is stored in the customer environment. Nobody has access to that. Now the communication is encrypted, so you can decide who can have access to your system, who cannot. Nobody can sniff the traffic. Nobody can listen to your communications. Everything is recorded on your server in your environment, so nobody has access to that. You can build your own private LTE system and use push-to-talk over cellular for, let's say, unlimited data. And this is the business WhatsApp, what we call business TRBOnet mobile chat. So you can exchange different files and videos and everything. And second, it's the multi-instance support or like a hosting solution for the hosting provider. So we can have many customers who cannot invest into the infrastructure, but hosting provider can invest once in the infrastructure and then just serve for different customers. And of course, we provide the full support, information, same type of level of support what we do for the TRBOnet Enterprise and Plus for the radio operations. Of course, the best advantage to work with TRBOnet team that TRBOnet is really the product with the unique features, and we are now the driver on the market with the commercial features because we have thousands of different customers and they request us to implement different features. As soon as we add them into the product, they immediately become available for everybody around. And I would say that probably 80% of the TRBOnet functionality, it's real features requested by our real customers. So it's a lot of functionality which came from the commercial market, from safety, from command and control centers. So we try to implement everything in the product, and now it can be reused by different verticals. We have very strong development team. We try to keep our development on the high level and very fast and high quality. We have sometimes the fast reaction to the custom development if we see that this feature is very needed and might be interesting for the market. And what is important, we have the complete portfolio. So we are the company which is providing the command and control center. We provide the Swift logic for the radios, so you can load it into the option board and have the radio which is with the safety features and enhanced GPS tracking and memory inside the radio. We also provide the hardware for interoperability with the radio system, different type of radio system like analog or marine band or P25, so you can interconnect it inside the TRBOnet. And also we have interconnection with the PBX phone system, with the PLC Modbus. We have integration with the different type of communication and push-to-talk over cellular, our own. So it's a very smooth, mostly software integration. You don't need extra hardware to buy, no specific gateways, no specific devices for the accessories. Everything is working with the Windows platform, so it's very easy to use. And finally, we have the remote technical support in the local hours of your region. We also have Paul. You probably already know him. He is in the United States. He's answering phones, and he also helps with the installation. But besides Paul, we also have the team of 8 people. So if we have the remote support, we set up the session, connect, and help with all the questions. Okay, so now the session of questions and answers. I don't know if probably, okay, we have one answer. Let me see. Yes, the question is, can the mobile application be customized just to PTT, like a radio, and restrict access to GPS, call logs, etc.? Yes, it's possible. Everything is configured on the server side. So then you configure the profile for the mobile client. You can, even if you have on your server all the features for the mobile client, you can assign only voice, only PTT, and only specific group. So you can make very detailed administration of the profile and assign only specific features. So this device will not be, will not have access to anything else. Can the mobile client support radio allocation? Not directly like a radio, because in the radio, you remember we have a sign-in, but through the TRBOnet console, we can assign the specific device. Yes, mostly through the alarm and event management. Any other questions, please let me know. You can write down in the chat. We have it in the Q&A session below. I apologize, I took a little bit more time for the presentation. So, okay, so if no more questions for now, thank you so much for joining our webinar. And of course, if you have any questions or if you have any request for demo, every time, please send email to Juan or to me, and we will set up the demo for you. Please go through our tutorials, because they are very detailed, and you can share with your customers instead of the presentation. They will see how it looks like, and probably they will be happy to try as well. And of course, with the coming holidays, we would like to wish you the happy holidays, nice time, and great end of the year. Juan, please join me with the warm wishes.
Of course, happy holidays to everyone. And but we'll be working throughout the holidays. So if you have any questions or you need more details, you know, you can always reach out, send me an email, give me a call, and I will immediately gather the information that you need.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. And I hope that we will see each other soon on the next webinar or just on the next presentation. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.